Right from the beginning, I've had a sense that the business is more about than just making money. So, legacy to me means taking forward business excellence, being reliable, and legacy also, as I said, means looking to integrate ourselves with communities where we are located and seeing that we, by and large, make a difference to people's lives. While carrying forward a legacy is important, but I think it's also important to enjoy what you're doing. Right. Because if you see that legacy as a burden, then it's neither good for you nor the business.
What is your one advice for young, ambitious Indians watching this episode?
Don't look at valuations, look at the value proposition, and valuations will follow.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Leaders Unplugged by ISB. I'm Rishik Reddy from the PGP class of 2026, and today I have with me a very special guest, the CEO and Managing Director of IMFA. He's also served in one of Indian industry's highest offices as the President of FICCI at a time of significant economic change. Mr. Subhrakant Panda, sir, it's an honor having you with us today.
Thank you, Rishik. It's a pleasure to be here with you today and on this very impressive ISB campus.
So, I'd like to start from the very beginning. Your father, both your parents, in fact, were kind of the pioneers of integrated alloy manufacturing in India. So, what was it like having to take over their legacy?
So let me talk a little bit about the legacy first. So my father was a research scientist in the US and then worked on assignment with the British government before both my parents came back to India and set up IMFA in 1961 with a vision to contribute to Odisha's industrialization. So they set up the company to produce silicon alloys, which goes into steel making. And now, of course, we have transitioned to producing ferrochrome, which is what imparts the non-corrosive property to stainless steel. So we are a fully integrated operation with our own chrome ore mining and captive power generation, both of which goes into making us a reliable and cost-competitive producer. And with our recent expansion and acquisition, we are actually today the largest producer in India and the sixth largest globally. So I myself have a degree from Boston University and joined the company straight out of college in 1993. Right from the beginning, I've had a sense that the business is more about than just making money. That's something that I grew up hearing from my parents. Obviously, it's important for a business to be profitable. Without that, you're not going to get very far. But there is more to it than just being profitable. So legacy to me means taking forward business excellence, taking forward a vision of being a competitive producer on a global scale, being reliable so that, when we talk about, some of the top companies in the world whom we supply to, that it's important to us that they see us as a reliable partner. Legacy also, as I said, means, looking to integrate ourselves with communities where we are located. And seeing that we, by and large, make a difference to people's lives as we run a world-class operation.
So, in your early years, you always knew you were going to get into the manufacturing space?
So I did grow up listening to my father talking about the business practically every evening. It's something that excited me. So there were two things that I was certain about, that in terms of my education, I wanted to pursue a degree in finance. That's something that I was fascinated by. And having said that, when I got to college, I fell in love with the first course in operations management that I took. So I have a dual concentration in finance and operations management. But the second thing which I was excited about was to get into manufacturing business. Going back to your question about legacy, going back to that on one other aspect. while carrying forward a legacy is important, but I think it's also important to enjoy what you're doing. Because if you see that legacy as a burden, then it's neither good for you nor the business. In my case, I truly enjoy what I do, and I think that has helped me a lot. That I wake up in the morning excited to go to work, as opposed to seeing it as something which is holding me back.
Right. It is great that you found passion in line with your legacy. But today, when you talk to young Indians, sir, we love talking about technology, we love talking financial services. Not many actually envision a career in heavy industry. But very recently, I learned that the maximum number of billionaires in India actually come from manufacturing, and I was quite surprised. So, do you think young India is looking at manufacturing adequately?
Look, I think there are multiple layers to that question. So first of all, when you talk about, your peers, for example, or young India, as you called it, being, more in tune with innovation, with technology, I think that's but natural, because that is the direction in which the world is headed. And there is a lot more glamour in that. I mean, I'm not saying there isn't substance. There obviously is substance, but there is a lot more glamour in that as well. Whereas if you look at manufacturing, I think it's a more sort of roll your sleeves up and get it done, and the heat and dust of the shop floor. These are not glamorous things. But manufacturing as a sector, and now let me sort of broaden the scope of the question. I think manufacturing as a sector is extremely critical, right? Because if you look at India, one of the advantages that we have as a nation is our demographic dividend, right? The youngest nation in the world, large chunk of the population below 30 years of age. But in order to benefit from that demographic dividend, we have to ensure that there are opportunities and outlets for all that youthful energy. And while technology and the services sector, etc., all of them will play a role, but manufacturing also is a very important outlet. And it's critical for India's growth ambitions for manufacturing to do well. So from that point of view, you've seen manufacturing being in that 15 to 17% of GDP range. And which is why this government is very focused on taking manufacturing up to 25% and beyond. And that's why you see a lot of focus on ease of doing business, on policies which are supportive of the manufacturing sector. But yes, I mean, somehow, we'll have to work on getting a little bit more glamour into manufacturing to make it more attractive to the younger lot. And of course, my earlier point about, if you enjoy doing what you do, then you are much more likely to be successful than if you do it as a compulsion of any sort.
Right. So in your previous answer, you've also mentioned the demographic dividend that plays to our advantage right now. I also wanted to address something there. Today, we see unemployment among urban youth. I think the numbers are staggering, 18%, 20%. On the other hand, most founders that we interact with, most executors that we interact with, they keep telling us that they're not able to find good talent. This clearly points to some sort of a skill gap in the economy today. Is that kind of a gap prominent in your industry as well?
So look, I think what's important to keep in mind is from an industry perspective is that you can't sort of completely remove yourself from the skill or the skilling aspect of things and say that look, somehow miraculously highly skilled workers are going to be available, and all I need to do is just get them on board. I think it's important to look at what role industry should play in skilling, right? And from that point of view, if you look at the German model, for example, where industry plays a critical part in sort of defining what the curriculum is, and along the way also provides apprenticeship and other forms of on-the-job training, so that when you join as a full-time employee, you already are exposed to that sector. So I think that is where, if you look at the education policy in India, that's where we are also sort of reorienting to say that instead of a very rigid curriculum and a rigid sort of timeline for education, it's important to have a little bit of flexibility in that, and more importantly, sort of align the knowledge which is imparted in institutions to something which is applicable in the real world. So in our industry or in INFA, what we have specifically done is we actually score very highly on local employment much before it became a policy. 95% of our employees are from the local community, and all of them don't really come into the workforce with the exact sort of skill set that we require. So we go through a training process. We go through a sort of molding them into and imparting the sort of skills that we feel are important to our industry, which fits in with our value systems, what we call the IMFA qualities in terms of what we want to see in our workforce. And mold them into a highly trained, highly skilled workforce, which works out well for us actually.
Noted, sir. That is very interesting. I now want to touch upon two themes that are reshaping industries today: digitalization and sustainability. Right? Specifically under digitalization, I want to talk about artificial intelligence. Right? What is the role it is playing in your industry? And let's say 5 years from today, to what extent do you see it taking over human skill and human judgment?
Okay. So look, if you look at ferroalloys, if you look at smelting, if you look at power generation, the core sort of technology or concepts have not changed. But obviously there has been a lot of refinement, and also when you look at the peripheral activities, that's where a lot of improvement or advancement has come in terms of digitalization. So at IMFA too, we have taken up a major drive in terms of digitalization, where we are looking to sort of look at how that can add further efficiencies to our operations. So whether it is digital twins for our furnaces, so that whether it is burden optimization or many other such initiatives, that's where digitalization has a lot of role to play. Secondly, I think in terms of day-to-day operations, analyzing large amounts of data and seeing patterns or drawing inferences from those patterns is something where digitalization and artificial intelligence have a role to play. Drawing inferences from that and taking whether corrective measures or taking steps which enhance efficiency, improve quality and output, etc. So that's been a large focus for us.
Very interesting, sir. Now on to sustainability. You are one of the leading producers of ferrochrome in India. Just to give context to our audience, a typical 4-storied, 4-household building in India consumes about 4,500 units of electricity every year. And it takes that much energy to produce 1 ton of ferrochrome. And IMFA here produces about 260,000 tons of ferrochrome every year. So coming from such an energy-intensive business, sir, what do you do to stay green?
So first of all, a little quip on that. Everything in life is relative. We have transitioned from silicon alloys, which are even more of an energy guzzler than chrome. But that being said, you're absolutely right. I mentioned early on that it's not just cost competitiveness and quality which is important, but to be in line with sustainable practices is also, I think, a critical aspect. So that's something that we hold very dear. So, over the years, we have done a lot of things like being zero liquid discharge in terms of our facilities and all of that. But even as we grow our capacity substantially, we are going to, over the next 6 months, literally double our output to about 500,000 tons. We are also pivoting towards renewable energy. And we were amongst the first in the private sector in India to set up a coal-based power plant. But over the years, we have added a little bit of solar capacity. But now for our expansion, we are going completely down the renewable energy route. And we have signed up with 2 leading companies in India to provide us with hybrid renewable energy for our expansion projects. So over the course of the next couple of years or so, or actually less than that now, by end of 26, we will be about 40% of our energy consumption will come from renewable sources. So that substantially brings down our carbon footprint. Beyond that, we are also looking at other ways to tweak our production processes and look at where we can squeeze out more efficiency. not just from the point of view of efficiency per se, but really in further sort of chiseling away at our carbon footprint. So that's something which is very significant for us. And I think going ahead with these measures, we will continue to prioritize sustainability.
As we near the end of the episode, I also wanted to touch upon your CSR initiatives. Right? In India, a lot of corporations started engaging in CSR only after the government has mandated it. But you were one of the few firms who were always doing it, and you were doing it to extents of almost 3-4 times of today's mandated limit. So I want to understand the thinking behind that. Was it to offset the externalities caused by manufacturing, or was there a deeper philosophical reason?
Our philosophy right from the beginning has been to live in harmony with the communities. And that meant providing the same facilities to the local communities that we provided to our own employees. So whether it is basic healthcare, whether it is education, whether it is certain community facilities, all of that has been made available. And I think we looked at CSR in a similar sort of a concept, right? And one thing which distinguishes us from many corporates is that we don't look at CSR as merely a financial commitment. So we're not just looking to fund activities. We actually roll up our sleeves and implement these initiatives on the ground directly ourselves through our foundation, which is named after my parents. Before that, we had a more of a philanthropic sort of angle to our CSR. That still continues. The charitable activity still continues. But over the past 15, 20 years, what we have done is also look at, being very focused in some of our activities and look at sustainable initiatives. So the concept, which is an age-old concept, is that, rather than give someone fish, it is easier, it's better to teach them how to fish. Yeah. So we have both our charitable and philanthropic initiatives as well as sustainable initiatives. So that is where, we have done a lot of work. We also look at advocacy, through awards that we have for change makers at the grassroots level, which is known as the Shambhavi Puraskar. And as part of our commitment to the state, we also have the Sarala Puraskar, which is given to Odia literature, and the Eklavya Puraskar, which is given to Odia sports people. And these are all, we have done that for many, many years now. We're closing in on close to 50 years now for the literary award, and similarly for our sports award, and the community service award is the newest in the block. So we really straddle the full spectrum.
Wonderful. We got to appreciate the noble approach you have towards business, sir. So before we wrap up this segment, from all your experience, what is your one advice for young, ambitious Indians watching this episode?
So advice number one would be to believe in yourself and commit yourself to whatever you're passionate about and see it through. That is one. And second, which I've always said, and I think this is true not just in the context of startups, but I was speaking at a business conclave a week or 10 days ago, and I was asked about something to do about the valuation of the business and all of that. To my mind, I think it's important to go back to something you said a little while ago, to look at the value proposition. What is it that you're doing which is unique, which will attract customers? So don't look at valuations. Look at the value proposition, and valuations will follow.
That is very insightful, sir. Advice taken, and I'm sure we're all ready to tap into the opportunities that India has to offer. But now let's do our final segment, which is called 5 Words or Lesser. This is a very interesting segment. So I'm going to shoot words at you, and you're going to share your initial thoughts in 5 words or lesser.
Sure.
Your first phrase is ROCO.
Passion, dedication, and determination.
Right. What about women's cricket?
Fantastic. I mean, to just see what women's cricket has achieved, absolutely fantastic. And, so important to I know I'm going beyond 5 words, but as the father of 2 daughters, I think it's very, it's something that I'm passionate about. that women too can be champions, and women are champions.
Totally, totally. Your book recommendation.
Um, Going back to something I read many years ago called Tipping Point, and something I read about a couple of years ago, No Rules, Rules.
Okay. What about in 5 words or lesser? What do you say about India in the next decade?
Growth, growth, and growth.
All right. And finally, the Indian School of Business.
Very impressive, and management excellence.
Fantastic. You were such a sport, sir. Thank you so much for taking out time to chat with us this morning. Today, we've learnt about the importance of manufacturing to India's growth plans. We've also seen how businesses can be about more than just making money, about how they can contribute to communities and to nation building. For more such insights, please stay tuned to Leaders Unplugged by ISB. Thank you.